Good evening. I'm Jack Neal from JackNealGames. Tonight, I'd like to teach on Rust and Revenue. This is an 18xx inspired roll and write game. It is solo. You will be playing against two automated rivals, and your goal is to earn more money than both of them. During the course of the game, you are going to be buying engines, building track, connecting routes, making networks, buying shares, and eventually cashing in all those shares and seeing who comes up with the most money. So all that said, let's get down to the details. So let's go through just the general turn flow and action. So with each turn, you will be rolling 4 dice, 3 white, 1 black. From there, you will have to decide what you want to do with them. For most turns, Xavier is a randomized opponent, and he will make his move based on this die for this company that's here. For the other dice that you have to pick, you will pick 1 die for Reginald, and he performs scripted actions. The other 2 are what you would like to do. So, for the sake of just sort of explanation, we could say Reginald will get this third die, or this die, so he will be using Company 3. And then maybe we want to do something with Company 4 with a strength of 5, or Company 5 with a strength of 4. Once you decide your dice, once the rivals have done their parts, then you get to do yours, mark out the appropriate parts on the sheet, and then your turn is over. 7 turns ends a round. There's a separate scoring phase after each round. That is the gist of how the gameplay goes. So I'd like to go now into some of the actions that you can do on your turn in detail. There are tasks which you can do, investment tasks or operation tasks. An investment task really is just a share action. Share actions will let you go through and buy shares in a company. The more shares that you have in a company, the more money that you earn when that company scores. You must start out building out a company first by buying a share. Once you do, you start from that company's spot. So, for example, if I was going to start company number 1, I would go through and I would mark the share here on the sheet. I'll show you during the playthrough how that one goes. But the idea is I would mark the track that I would want to build here. I would grab an engine, throw it over here, and mark my share for my symbol, which is a plus on the sheet here. So that would be for the first action that you would have to do for a company is to start up shares and start that out. Once a company is set up, you can do an operation tasks. So operation tasks are very similar in that, going back to the example we had earlier with company 4 and a strength of 5, we can go through and buy engines based on the strength of the die. So for example, I could potentially buy 2 engines if they're available with 1 5, or I could build a route that is up to a 5, or potentially, if I say was up here in this part of the map, I could build a couple places up here too. All your networks have to be connected. There's all these other various rules that go with it, but the basis of this is that you're using the dice and pips to decide where to build and how strong to do it. Some of the other dance that's involved here with both of these turns is that every time that an action is taken, either by you or one of the bots, it gets marked off on this maintenance track. You cannot take consecutive share actions, and so if the bot buys a share and you don't, you have to wait until something operates. He can't buy right away either. So there is a little bit of strategy involved in trying to figure out if I can manipulate this company to make him buy this, versus maybe I want to have this other company go and then maybe kind of steer him another way or point him toward a bad part of the map. The reason why you want to worry about maintenance is that whoever has the most shares in the company for each one of these gets the presidential bonus. And it's just a little extra scoring little bit at the end of it. And the more shares that are out there, the higher the bonus. However, as you can see here, maintenance on this side, you also see that the more maintenance that you have on something, the lower that share goes. So the idea is you want to try to get people involved in the company so that you can have the presidential bonus, not spend too much effort on having that company build out. Once that company is completely filled out, you can't do any more maintenance or do any more operations for that company. So once this track is filled up, that's all that company is going to do. It'll still score and it'll still produce money, but it will not be able to be expanded anymore. The final action that you can do, worst comes to worst, is pass, where if you have no other options or you choose not to do any other options, you can pass as well. Both sides pass, then the game is over at that point. Otherwise, it goes for the full 21 turns or 3 rounds. And finally, what we'll do now is go over some of how the bots do their thing. Xavier is the random bot. He was the one we talked about earlier with the black die. With him, it's a matter of adjusting that company. And for company 6, you would mark off an X on the sheet for the share that's available. If he has the first share that he puts out, he starts the company. He doesn't lay any track down. He doesn't buy any engines. If all the shares are bought, he'll add on to maintenance, but that's it. There's no other scripting that's required for Xavier. Reginald is a little bit more involved, and he is actually scripted out, and I'm going to show that here in a sec. At the start of the game, for Reginald, what we end up doing is we set up his budget for what he can do. So, for example, in this game right here that I'm going to show you at easy level, Reginald's bonus for, or budget for what he would do would be a 5. And I'll use an actual real marker a little bit further on to sort of show this. But the idea is that Reginald, for any action that benefits him, he'll spend the equivalent of what would be a 5 die for his action. Anything else that might help you out would end up being a 4. So the way that Reginald does his actions is he'll use the die that you didn't pick for out of the 2 that you wanted. So let's say we wanted Reginald to do number 3. So his action would be on company 3. So if this company is ready to go and it doesn't have a maintenance on it or anything like that, he will go through and do an investment task, and he'll buy as many shares as he can to try to be the president. If he can't be the president, he will go up to these little marks here, these barriers, which are the places where shares get more expensive, but also where the presidential bonus goes up. He doesn't want to help you out if he's not going to be the president of the company. And as a reminder, the president of the company is the one who owns the most shares. In case of a tie, it's whoever bought the shares first for that tie. Assuming that, say like there are shares in the company, it's time that he can do an operations task. He will go ahead and try to figure out if he can build track or if he can buy engines. So we'll show this a little bit more, but the idea is that if there are more tracks than he has engines for, he will buy an engine. If he has more engine power or service capacity, as it's called in the rules, then he will go ahead and build track. And we'll go through all that here shortly. But the idea is again, this alternating part where it goes back and forth between share rounds and operations rounds. And finally, we're getting to the flow based on your turn. There are some components of what we've shown earlier that also apply to how you take your turn. We'll go over these just real quick. I think this will be more obvious when I go through and do the playthrough. But going back to, again, the dice that we selected, if I was going to do company 4 with a power of 5, this would be my chosen company. This would be my budget. So you can buy shares, and they cost by the share number. So for example, if I was going to buy shares for company number 4, I could spend up to 5 pips. So given that on this company here, it would be company 4. I would mark off 1, 2 spaces because I take 2 pips each for each of those. When you start up a company, you get to start up get to buy an engine, and you get to build the first track for free. During your turn, there are also certain die rolls that may also be more beneficial as well. Natural rolls. So a natural 1 is buying a share free. A natural 6 will give you an extra bonus at the round for this particular thing. The other thing you can do if the company's already been built is the buy engines part, where if you have at least 1 share in the company, so you have to be part of the ownership, you can go through and buy engines based on power. So again, if I had the 5 as talked about before, we could go ahead and bring in 2 engines. If you had a 1 that was for this value instead, you would be able to just go ahead and grab the next engine regardless of cost. And if you rolled a 6, you could upgrade an engine that you have. So if you had an engine that was a 2, you could upgrade that engine. And upgraded engines have an additional bonus of 2, and they don't rust. Rusting is when the engines get old and they don't count anymore for as much revenue as they would otherwise. We'll go over that with scoring as well. Finally, building track. Again, you have to have a share in the company, but we can go through, and based on the die value, you can go through and connect track up back to the hub. It always has to connect to an existing network, and you always have to make a new stop for that company. You can't redirect and dawdle and go around that way. If you join 2 separate networks, you can build a hub after that, which can cut out some of the other opponents. A natural 1 for building track for the value allows you to place a track segment regardless of cost. A 6 lets you place a bypass at a city, and we'll go into some of the city rules special in a second. Finally, the capital reserve part of the board lets you modify a die plus or minus 1. So if you needed an extra boost, say, to build out a little bit of an extra track here for this 5 and you wanted to turn it to a 6, you would mark off your capital reserve and then mark off that part of the track there. You get 3 of those essentially modifiers or wildcards per game. And again, you can pass, and sometimes you want to do that. Sometimes you want to try to end the game early in case it starts getting out of control. So with all that out of the way, I'm going to try going through. I'm going to do a 3-step playthrough on the game as it goes. We'll go through and we'll do the first round and go through each part. We're going to play on the easy level. Just going to do these on the fly as we go. I will try to explain a little bit more of the rules as we go along and top of what we had just now. We'll be switching over to the wet erase marker because we got to make sure this shows up on camera. Got to throw this underneath so I don't stain a table. Line it up, and then we'll try zooming in just a little bit. And yeah, so we're gonna see how this goes. So all you need to play the game, again, pencil, dice, play sheet. That's it. For setup, you pick the difficulty level that you want. We're going to be doing easy. So for easy, Reginald gets a budget of 5, an assist of 4. Xavier, we start rolling his die around, right around there in round 3. So let's see what we got. So first roll, going through, we have 1, 3, 6, and 6. So black die didn't need to roll, so we're just going to put that off camera. So at this point, we have to decide what we want to do and how we want to look at the map to play the game. So we have a 1, 3, and a 6. I haven't looked at this map in a little while. What I'm thinking is that company 3 might be a good one because cities end up being worth more money for our revenue. However, you can only build into a city, you can't build through it. Likewise, for hubs, if you try going through somebody else's hub, you can build track to it, but you can't go past it. All track is shared as well, so the idea is to try to get different synergies of companies together. Finally, which we won't do in this playthrough, but there are company powers that go with these things, which would also help determine what you might want to do for certain companies. For example, Company 6 usually makes money off of going to these mines. We won't do the mines in this playthrough, but those synergies can also come together to do things. So given that, and I haven't looked at the map in a while, what we're going to end up doing is I think we're going to have, we're going to try building out company number 3 because we're close to some cities here. Company 1 looks like it would be good as well, just because it's sort of out of the way. Company 2 can be sort of a bridge. So there's some stuff here. 4 doesn't look as strong on this map just because of these mines, which kind of get in the way, and there's this really expensive track that goes up to the north. 5 wouldn't be bad either, but we didn't roll it. There's some cheap tracks to build out that way and go here. So I think what I want to do is try to build out 3 and 5. We'll see how it goes. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. So that said, we're going to give Reginald the 1. And so Reginald is the first action he will do is he will purchase shares in a company. He will try to do it up to his budget of 5. So for company 1, each share right now costs 2 pips. So for Reginald, we put an R for each share. So his 2 shares are here. He started the company out. So he gets to get an engine. So we mark it off over here. We put it over here. And he builds the first route. He will buy the cheapest route that he possibly can. If there is a tie for cheapest, he will go to the most lucrative one. And if there's still a tie, then you get to pick. The only other proviso that comes into that as well will be a little bit later when we get closer to how additional hubs can be added to the map. But for now, he can go here. So he will go and build out his 2 right over there. So he has his engine. He has has the available engine. He has his engine here. He has his shares. He went through and he did his initial turn. So he had an investment action. So we mark that with an I over here on the maintenance bubble. That's Reginald's turn. Our turn. We have a 3 and a 6. So we're going to go ahead and use company 3, and we're going to use the 6. So because it's the first action for that company, we have to invest and we have to buy shares. So company 3, we're going to use plus signs for us, and we're going to buy 3 shares at 2 pips apiece, which adds up to 6. We also get an engine, and we also get to build something for free. And I want to build here right away because, actually, I'll take that back. I want to build over here on 5 because that is a very expensive route to build on. So we're going to build there. That was the investment turn, and we just got through round 1 or turn 1. So we're there. We got a first start. Let's keep on going. Turn 2. Again, we don't need the black die right off the bat. I'm used to playing at the higher difficulty level, so apologies. Oops, moved it. There we go. So we'll go ahead and mark this out. So we have 3, 4, and 5. So we could try to build out startup company 5, which I sort of wanted to do earlier, and give Reginald the 4. We could also add on to company 3, maybe buy another engine or expand some track out as well. What I'm thinking about doing is continuing on with 3 because this 5, if we do an operation, we'll be able to build onto the routes and really make a really profitable start for the railroad. We'll give Reginald the 4. So he gets the 4. He has to do an investment action because it's the first one. Reginald, again, spends 5 pips, which he's going to be 1 low. So he gets 2 shares. He buys an available engine as well. He builds the cheapest route. And that's his spot. On to us. We have 3 and a 5. So what we're going to do is we're going to do an operations round. And we're going to mark it here before we forget. And we're going to go through. So we could either buy an engine or we can build track. Can't do both. You can build up to 2 tracks, and they have to connect back to your hub. So what I would like to do is we'll build here. So we'll get to this other city over here. It's for 1, and then we'll spend our other 4 pips to go here. So right now, with a 2 train, we have $3 in revenue because our hub is worth 1 and our city is worth 2. If we get more engines, we can add on more revenue because we're connected to 2 different cities and also different hubs. So we're off to a good start. Now we're off to turn 3, and now we've ended up starting to use Xavier now. So go ahead and roll. And Xavier is going to go invest in company 1. So we're going to take care of him first. Company 1, all that he does is he just buys shares. So he is there, and that's his turn. He doesn't mark any maintenance. He doesn't add any engines. He doesn't add any track. So it's back to us. We have to decide what we want to do for Reginald and ourselves. So company 2 is available if we want. 4, we could still sort of give him and try to build him out if we want. We could start up 5, but we're not going to have a real powerful turn with either of those. So I think what I'd like to do is we're going to pivot a little bit, and we're going to give Reginald the 4 again. So we'll let him build again. So with Reginald, he's going to take an operations round. So here's where a little bit of the scripting comes in, but it's not too scary, and you get the hang of it real quick. Right now, he can hit 2 cities, and he has a 2 engine. If he has equal to or less than the engine power to build out his network, he will go and add track. So he's going to add cheapest track to get to the best places. So he has a budget of 5, and he will, because he can reach all of his track, he's going to build track. He will go cheapest first. His cheapest option is this 1 here. And then his next cheapest as well is still a 1. So he will go there. So he didn't really get any income. He is building out this way. Again, 4 on this particular map doesn't seem to be as profitable as some of the other ones. And because Reginald can't read the maps like you, he doesn't have an advantage at that point. However, because he takes very efficient turns, he can usually catch up. So you have to just sort of mind the rail. So that's Reginald's turn. Goes back to us. So we could do company 5 and do like just 1 share, or we could get 2 shares in company number 2. And I think we're going to do that first. So with the 2, we have 5 pips. We can spend 4 of them for shares. That will be an investment action, and that'll be another available engine. So there's our 2. We put it over here for the 2 here. This, we can go ahead and build out our track as well. So we're going to build over here toward our city. So this will give us a little bit of a bump in revenue. That is 3rd turn. On to the 4th. So we got 3, 3, 5, 6. Mark this out here. Xavier's going to take a share in company 3. So right now he's going to take a little bit of whatever we have on this company when it runs. And we are over here at 3 and 5 and 6. So company 6 we haven't used. And 6s again can be good powers for some of the other actions. Reminders out down here of what they are. We'll ignore those for now. Right now for company 3, if whatever happens for that die, you could run another operation for it. You could also do an investment action for it, or an investment task. So somebody could buy shares, and Reginald will try to do that if that's the case. 5 would be starting a new company, and 6 would be starting a new company. So I think at this point, if we buy, we could start building into 5 and take the 6, and then Reginald would go in and build in for company 3. If we go through for company 3, he would try to get as many shares as he could. By doing that, he only has a budget of 5, and each share now at this level costs 3. So he would only get 1 share. And at the easy level, I think that's worth doing. So for company 3, because the last action for him, for the company was an operations action or an operations task, turns into an investment task here. Reginald gets an R for his share. That's his turn. For us, we'll go ahead and we'll just throw some more shares on. So we're going to do company 5. we're going to have a 6, which means we get 3 shares. And we get an engine, which is a 3 because we moved on past there. So that's good. And we get to build out free track. And we're going to go build out this way. So our map is taking shape. Reginald right now is just sort of socked in over here. He's got a little bit over here. We haven't even started on Company 6, and that's fine. So we're moving along. We're doing good. We'll go through, and like I said, 3 more turns here real quick, and then we'll go into scoring, and we'll see where we go from there. So we rolled our dice. Xavier goes. He grabs Company 6. Company 6 now starts up. Gets an available engine. Gets the 1 share. Builds the first track. This is the cheapest, so that's what we have. So now we're back to 2, 4, and 6. We could let Reginald go through and start working on Company 6 if we're not too worried about it. We could, he could get more shares in Company 4 if he wished, and that might not be bad. Company 2 was the one that we had. We could also add on to that. So I think what we're going to do, the other thing I'd like to do, though, at some point is give Company 3 an engine, a couple engines to go here as well. So I'm going to show off the capital reserve part, I think, with that one. And so what we'll end up doing is we'll have Reginald take his turn first. So I'm going to give him the 2. 2 is the operations. He's unable to do that, and you can force him to do nothing, so that is a pass. He does nothing. It's not often that happens, but you can use it to your own advantage. In this instance, we'll keep on going on, and we have a 4 and a 6. I really want Company 3, so I'll use a reserve to change that 4 into a 3. So I can use the 4 that I had to a 3 for that company and then use the 6. With the 6, I'm going to grab 2 of the 3 trains. And now we're set to go up until the very last round when those trains eventually rust. There's that turn there. And let's see here. 3, 3. Yes, okay, we're good. So, and I did the operations as 3. Yes. Okay, there we go. Almost forgot it. Xavier's really liking Company 6. We have a low roll here for 1, 1, and 2. So Reginald, our rival, we could have him build out Company 1. We could also have, again, do a pass for on Company 2. You'll notice that you don't want to do it too often because, yeah, that's our company, but if he keeps passing, it still birds up maintenance, which will still eat into our costs. And we still want somebody to go help us with the company at some point so we can get the bonus. So you don't want to pass forever. So what I think I want to do is we'll let Reginald do more work on his initial company. Right now he's the owner there, Company 1. So it'll be in operations. He has 2 cities he's attached to. He has a 2 engine, so he can keep moving on. He will spend up to 5 to keep moving. So I can pick with this one or this one. I'm going to have him go this way. He will also, again, he will try to go to the most expensive city that he can reach. So if I pick this one, he would automatically try going to this one later. So we're going to try steering him a little bit more over to the northwest. That's his turn. Did I mark it? Yes, I did the operations thing there too. So back to us. We have our 2 and we have our 1. What we could do, we have a couple different options. We could have used this die for the company. So we could go ahead, use that and use our 2 pips to buy a share and get a piece of the action here on company number 1. don't think I'm going to do that just now. I still want to build up what we have on company number 2. So for Frontier Spike Line, we're going to go through and use the 1. So it's an operations task. We have to do that. We can't get another share. We can either get a free engine or we can get a free track. Because it's a 1, the cost doesn't matter. It was a natural 1. Going through in here, if we build a track, we can go this way. However, getting the 4 train would be good because the 4 trains never reduce in value. The 3s do and the 2s do. So we'll grab a 4 here and we'll add it on over here. That's our turn. Last turn for the round. Here we go. See what we got. And we have a 1 for Xavier. Oops. And then 2, 4, 6. The Xavier marks out a 1. That leaves us here for 2, 4, and 6. I think for I want to get more shares for company number 2. We'll give Xavier the 4 just for fun. 4 means he'll invest. He'll spend 5 pips, so he will go through. He will do that. And then for us, the 2 and the 6, we'll go through, do an investment. Oops, wrong one. And that's where dry erase is bad for this on a playthrough, but we'll soldier through. 2 and a 6 here. So company 2, I meant to do it here. We're going to use 6 pips. 1, 2. We'll add 1 to it for 7 to get us to this tier here. So it costs an extra share to do this, but we have a bigger bonus now. And there, finally, after just a little bit of teach as well, about 20 minutes, we got through the first part of the game. Next part I'll show you here is scoring based on what we have here. All right, so we got through the first round unscathed. Looks really good. We have a couple of really good railroads set up, but it's time to score and see where we are with things. So after each set of 7 turns is the end of the round. So at the end of every round, go through, we do the scoring. At the end of round 2, every train engine that is a 2 gets crossed out and it turns into a 1. At the end of the game, if you make it the full way, all the 3 engines also get turned into 1s. So this is going to score for 2 now for company number 1, but it'll change out later. So now for each company, we have to go figure out the revenue. And once we figure out the revenue, then we need to split it up by share. So for each company, we're going to go through and we're going to follow this procedure. So we're going to figure out the service capacity, which is the route over here. So we're going to start with company 1. Right now, it has a capacity of 2 because there's 2 engines. It hooks up to optimally $2 worth of revenue because the hub is worth 1 and that's worth 1. The mines aren't worth anything. So the route is worth 2. The presidential bonus is 4, and you get a presidential bonus if more than one player is invested in a company. And in this one, we've got Reginald and Xavier working together against us. So they earn the $4 there. Their maintenance hasn't gone into the red part, so they get to keep the whole presidential bonus. So the presidential bonus is going to be 4. Now we figure out the payout based on share. So right now, I don't have any shares in company 1, so I get nothing. Reginald has 2 shares, and Xavier has 2 shares. Reginald is the president because he, although he's tied, is the first one. So we put a dot there just so I remember. So Reginald gets at a value of $2 a share plus times 2 plus the president's bonus gives him $8. Xavier just has 2 for each one, and this is worth 4. And we just scored our first company. Company 2 has a lot of engine value, but it hasn't connected to anything really yet. It connected to a city, which is worth 2, and a hub that's worth 1 for 3. Because I am the only owner in it, even though I got the presidential bonus up to 8, no one else is invested, so I don't get to collect that bonus. I have 5 shares in that company right here. So 5 times 3, 15, and they don't have anything. Highland Steel, which is our pride and joy. Definitely a lot going on here. We have a capacity of 8, so 3 plus 3 plus 2 for the engines. We're connected up to 1, 2, 3, 4 settlements, destinations, and it is worth 2, 3, 5, 6. Presidential bonus, because we got up to this tier, is 8. We haven't gotten into the red here. We have 3 shares. 3 times 6 is 18, plus 8 is 26. Xavier and Reginald both have 1. And because each share is worth 6, they get $6. Moving on to Reliable. It's connected out to a 2 train, and the 2 train is here. So these were mine, so it didn't get any revenue there. When you're building out your capacity, you always have to start out from the hub. So at least some part of the network for what you score is from the place where it's built out. For 4, it has a hub and a town, which is worth 1, so it's 2 total. No president bonus because only 1 investor is in there, and it's only Reginald, so we get nothing. Reginald has 4 shares. He gets $8. Xavier gets nothing. Company 5, again, small route, only worth 2. It's only me in there. There's no presidential bonus, so $6 for me. And company 6 only goes to Xavier right now. He has a 3, but it's only gone out to 2 places. So again, it's just hubs. It doesn't go out to these square cities. No presidential bonus. So nothing, 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 nothing. 2 times 2 is 4. So at the present time, we're sitting pretty with 11 shares at $41. Reginald has 7 shares at $14.22, and Xavier has 5 shares at $14. So we're on a very, very good start. At the last part of the round, you have the opponent upkeep. So this is a catch-up mechanism to make sure that the rivals don't get dusted. If any company engines would be rusted at the end of the round for a company that's owned by a rival, they automatically get the next available one for free. Then, if the number of track segments is less than the service capacity, which again is the total number of the engines, or total value, sum of the engine values, then they get to lay a legal track per the usual script. So let's go through and check this out now too. So for company 1, right now, at the end of this round, this 2 will end up turning into a 1. So they get to automatically acquire an engine. So they get a 4. And now because they have less track, more engine than track, they get to go ahead and build on. So cheapest one going out is here. Company 2 is mine. I own that one, so I don't get the extra boost. Company 3 is also mine. I don't get the boost. Company 4 is Reginald's, and he is stuck with an engine that'll rust, so he will get a 4 added to his company, and then he'll also get to build something, which, again, for us is good. For him is bad. He's just going to go build out toward this mine, and that's his turn out there. Company 5 doesn't get to do anything because it's mine. Company 6, the 3 won't go away. That would be at the end of the game. However, he doesn't have enough track to, he has more engine than track, so he has to build. And actually, this works out really well because we get to go find out what a hub is. So the way that you can build a second hub is if you connect to somebody else's track that you haven't connected to before. You get to do this once. The way that 6 would build is it will always try to build and attach to a hub if it can, or attach to another network that it isn't part of. And right here in this little mine is where somebody can actually hook up. So 6 will build out here, and then 6 gets its own little rounded part here, and it has its own stop there. So at this point, 4 can't go past this because this counts as another hub. 6 can use this piece of track because it's connected over to here and goes over there. That's the scoring. That was the happenstance hub thing that worked out. So that, in essence, is what you need to get going to start playing out the game. There are a few other wrinkles, nothing too crazy. Basically, the natural rolls, which will help out, and the company powers, which we didn't really talk about here just yet. I'll do an advanced playthrough of that later, probably in about a week or two, to show that out, because that's really where some of the game shines. But you've got enough here to go through and figure out the rest of the way how to play the game. Again, I'm going to go through here and continue on, but do it as a separate video. But for now, if you have any questions, please reach out. Again, JackNealGames.com. It's info@JackNealGames.com to reach me. I'm also on Board Game Geek, and I've had a couple other games that I've done over the years that limited success, but very proud of. And this particular design I'm really jazzed about, and it was worth putting all the effort into to bring this out to you guys. So I just want to say thank you, and happy gaming. Thank you.